IVM.
$100. That's all it takes to begin your journey with Bitcoin and Ethereum. No, really. With CoinSwitch, you can start investing in over 100 cryptocurrencies with just 100 rupees. On top of that, there are zero charges for deposits and withdrawals, so you can trade, buy, sell, however and whenever you want. All of this, plus their extremely intuitive interface, makes CoinSwitch the perfect app for beginners in the crypto space. But don't take my word for it. Just download CoinSwitch for free and try it out for yourself. If you'd like more information on cryptocurrencies, tune into A Show About Crypto with me, Rohan Joshi, my new adventure on IVM Podcasts. CoinSwitch, kuch to badlega.
Here's your smart fact of the day. The Pomodoro technique is a time management method developed by Francesco Cirello in the 1980s. It uses a timer to break work into intervals, traditionally 25 minutes in length, separated by short breaks. Each interval is known as a Pomodoro, known for the Italian word for tomato, after the tomato-shaped kitchen timer Orillo used as a university student. Welcome to Smarter With Sid, and today we are going to discuss this time management technique called Pomodoro, whether it works, what I think of it, and what the future of time management techniques like this will be. So you know how I like to first test something out before saying good things or bad things about it? I tried out the Pomodoro technique a few months back and tried to figure out whether it worked for me. But before I tell you whether it worked for me or not, I wanted to speak about what it is so that you understand, what I'm either saying good things for or bad things for. So the original technique has 6 steps. First, you decide on what you have to do. Then you set a timer for 25 minutes. You work on the task, end the work when the timer ends, or rather rings, take a short break, like 5 to 10 minutes. And if you have fewer than 3 Pomodoros, which is like one cycle, go back to step 2 and repeat until you go through all 3 Pomodoros. When all of them are done, take the 4th Pomodoro and then take a bit of a longer break, like half an hour lunch break sort of thing. Once the long break is over, return to, another Pomodoro cycle. So this is a specific work technique that all of us can try to experiment with, but I'm not sure whether it works or not. Yeah. I mean, when I tried it out, here's what my experience was. I tried it out with complete gusto. I did it for a week exactly. Let me be very clear about it. Unfortunately, what happened was, because I take lectures, and that's a lot of my workday, lectures are not really divided into 25 minutes each. They sometimes are 45 minutes, sometimes they're an hour, sometimes 1 hour, 15 minutes. So it was not a very natural break for me to, take in the middle of a class. I mean, just think of what the students would think if the teacher suddenly, buggered off. That is not necessarily a good thing. But I did try the Pomodoro thing out whenever I was doing some reviewing work, trying to figure out assignments that students had done, doing some consulting work, doing some writing, etc. And this is when I found the Pomodoro obviously slightly more suited for that kind of work that I was doing. And this is the first limitation. I don't think the Pomodoro is truly equally effective for all kinds of work. If you're a programmer, especially working in a pair programming sort of situation, then I think the Pomodoro technique might end up working really well for you. You might also think that a Pomodoro will work for somebody who's like writing a big book or writing a big assignment or, trying to study for an exam. Well, certainly the Pomodoro is something that you can certainly explore. For somebody whose breaks are defined by the system, like perhaps mine are, because they are defined by when the class ends, for example. A lot of the days, I think that this has limitations. I cannot do it. Maybe I can, extend the Pomodoro saying, okay, after class is done, I will take a break for 5-10 minutes. But that used to naturally happen for me in any way. So not really particularly useful. Now, another thought that I did have when I was trying to do the Pomodoro for that week that I tried it was that I think that you just end up losing a lot of energy. My observation was that you end up losing a lot of energy when you are doing work, and we hardly ever realize it. And the Pomodoro technique, allows you to kind of recalibrate and re-energize or refocus and stuff like that. And it obviously certainly helps. But I also felt that the first Pomodoro is excellent. The next one is not as good. The next one is not as good. And if you don't have very healthy self-esteem, you're going to wonder what you're doing wrong. But I mean, jokes aside, what I found really useful is the ability for me to be observant about my own energy patterns. And in fact, I've done a podcast of this earlier. If you look at, instead of time management, do energy management. And if you just scroll up the list, you will soon find out a podcast that actually focuses on looking at energy management instead of time management. And I still stand by it because I believe that energy management has the ability to be more flexible, and you are more in tune with the stuff that you are feeling and the emotions that you have, rather than just plain old time management. This is where I'd like to probably highlight, your personality and how it forms part of the equation. So if you're somebody like me, somebody who wants to maybe sway very quickly to a creative thought that he has in the midst of doing something else, then clearly the Pomodoro is not for me. But then you might argue and say, hey, listen, pal, maybe you need a little more focus. And the Pomodoro is exactly for somebody like you who cannot stick to a specific task. But if you're somebody who really likes to and is successful and is productive in this particular style of doing work, like flitting from task to task, I have particularly found that even 10-minute pieces of work sometimes hold so much gold, much more than 25 minutes or 1 hour or 3 hours. But we are very different, all of us, and our personalities certainly come into the equation. You might be so irritated with the Pomodoro technique that you'll feel that you can concentrate for an hour and you're not able to. And I think that is the biggest flaw of a technique like this, which is it considers all human beings to be equal. Now, I also feel that if your personality is such that you are going to go down to your smartphone to try scrolling towards, your social media of choice, it certainly is going to help you remain focused for 25 minutes. And in those 5 minutes that you take a break, you can do your social media thing. So if you think, and it's a self-assessment sort of thing, if you think that you need help not being distracted, and if you think by being distracted you're actually losing out on the potential of your work, the Pomodoro might end up still being useful for you. For somebody like me, or for who likes to actually flit between 10 minutes of intense work and then doing something else, and flit between tasks rather than focus on one task at a time, I think, well, it has limited usage. And for somebody who's like trying to focus without getting some timer to irritate the hell out of her or him, I would probably throw the clock away when I'm trying to concentrate. So your personality does become part of the equation. And I would say maybe instead of trying to stick to a 25 5-minute routine, find out when your natural break time is. Instead of depending on Pomodoro and some chap telling you exactly how much time is required, find out how soon you get distracted, what happens, find out what your natural break time is, find out how you can remain energized throughout the day, and probably then make it more conscious. So for example, if you are somebody who is flitting for 10 minutes and for one task and 10 minutes for the next, figure out how you can do it and how you can do it for a substantial period of time. And if you do it like that, understand exactly when you do it and the rest of it. Somebody who's looking at longer periods of time, let's say an hour or 3 hours or 2 hours, I don't know, for long periods of time, maybe figure out, okay, so how do you regain your energy, and when do you feel like you can work again, or you have the energy to work again, or the focus to work again, and maybe become a little more self-aware of what your own time is. Because the more aware we become of time management, the better it is. So Pomodoro, very useful for some, not so useful for me, and certainly not so useful for a lot of others. That's my verdict on this particular technique. I hope you liked this episode of Smarter With Sid. I try to figure out ways in which we can become 1% smarter, whether it's through time management, energy management, space management, mindset management, but also trends such as what's happening in the world of digital, what's happening in the world of various sectors like fashion and retail and stuff like that. So there is an external focus as well as an internal focus. This one is about an internal focus, which is about self-management, which is directly connected to time management. And anywho, if you like the stuff that I'm spouting, I do spout more on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Do follow me. I'm the Traveling Professor. And if you like stuff like this, IVM Podcast is the place to go. Until next time then.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cider Says, Cyrus talks to renowned film critic, author, and journalist Anupama Chopra about her new book, A Place in My Heart. On Shunya One, Shiliditya and myself are joined by co-founder of Blue Tokai, Matt Chandranjan. We discuss the origin story of Blue Tokai. The Simplified host talked to Dr. Nitin Arora about COVID and its impact on the medical fraternity. On Smarter With Sid, Siddharth explores what it means to be inclusive and politically correct in today's day and age. And on Tere Mere Raste, Keshav visits Kushinagar, the sacred place believed to be where the Buddha attained Mahaparinirvana. Also, just one quick announcement for everybody. We would like you to check out the new version of our Android app. It's available on the Play Store. It's a really interesting take on how to listen to podcasts. Do give it a look and let us know what you think. We're open to feedback on all of our social media channels. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, do remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth really does help. And don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. And we have a number of channels there at ivmpodcast.com/YouTube where you can take a look at them. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and CoinSwitch Kuber. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood.
Get accustomed to womanhood.
Enjoy the experience of sisterhood.
Might get to wifehood.
Or not. Choose motherhood.
Or not. You'll learn to define your personhood.
Earn a livelihood.
Change the neighborhood.
And get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Natasha.
And me, Ayushi.
On a journey from station starting point.
To station, what now?
Next station, Pudin station. And hopefully, Agla station, adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.